Back to Couch Casual. Today, we are going to be once again continuing our free agent predictions, with today's video being edge rusher and linebacker. This is if you watched the D-line offensive line, interior D-line offensive line video, there wasn't a lot there. This is a lot more of a loaded free agent class at these two positions. We got a lot more high level names to talk about, but I still will try and keep it somewhat quick. I won't try and ramble on too much. But without further ado, the first free agent we have is Mr. Leo Chenal from the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs are actually they got a good linebacker room. They got Nick Bolton, they got Leo Chenal, they got Drue Tranquill. It's a good room. And maybe because the Chiefs have other needs at O-line, edge rusher, running back, even receiver, tight end, they might not prioritize bringing Leo Chenal back, considering they have guys like Tranquill and Nick Bolton already. And that could, I think, end up in Leo Chenal leaving. And a team, in my opinion, that needs some help at the linebacker room, that, again, I think has enough money to go after Leo Chenal. Maybe not the big name linebackers like Devin Lloyd, but get a guy like Leo Chenal, is the Carolina Panthers. It's, I think, the weakest position on the team. And Leo Chenal is a very good linebacker, very smart linebacker, very good. He's been in a crowded-ish linebacker room with Kansas City, but now he gets to go to a Panthers team where he is the number one linebacker in that room, without a doubt, in my opinion. I don't think there's anyone even close on that team as good as Leo Chenal. So I think it'd be a great fit. And I think they signed Wharton from the Chiefs last year, so maybe he can convince Leo Chenal to come join the team as well. Next is Quincy Williams from the Jets. I liked Quincy Williams. I still like Quincy Williams. I think there was, if I can't remember, he got benched or something for the Jets late at some point last season. So I don't think they're bringing him back. They already lost Quinn Williams via trade, so might as well lose Quincy Williams. He could go to the Cowboys and reunite with his brother, just like they did on the Jets. But there's another linebacker that's been heavily rumored to go to the Jets, so I don't think, or the Cowboys, and I don't think the Cowboys spend money on two linebackers. But a team that has familiarity with Mr. Quincy Williams, or a coach that has familiarity with Mr. Quincy Williams, is the Tennessee Titans. They bring Robert Saleh over as their head coach. He has that familiarity with Quincy Williams. They need help at pretty much every position, to be honest, but that does include linebacker. And I feel like the Titans are just going to spend. They have money, right? The Titans have so much money that they honestly could just get anybody at every position, right? They need a linebacker. Quincy Williams is going to cost them a ton. They go get Quincy Williams. And again, he has that familiarity with Robert Saleh. Next is Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean, it feels like his time in Philly is over. Maybe a similar team that kind of has other needs that they can't prioritize Nakobe Dean. It seems like they're going to prioritize Dallas Goedert over Nakobe Dean. They're going to prioritize Jalen Phillips over Nakobe Dean. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the Cowboys could have signed Quincy Williams to team up with Quinn Williams again, but they are heavily rumored to be interested in signing Nakobe Dean. So I'm going to have Nakobe Dean go to the Cowboys. It feels like Philly and Dallas switches players back and forth a lot. You'll see a lot of former Cowboys go to the Eagles and a lot of former Eagles go to the Cowboys. They're very connected despite being division rivals. It feels like that's the whole case with the NFC East as an entirety as well. But again, Dallas really needs help at the linebacker room. They go get a little bit better of an upgrade than Quincy Williams would be. And he's just heavily rumored to go to the Cowboys. Or they're heavily rumored to be interested in Nakobe. I don't know if Nakobe Dean's interested in the Cowboys. Next is Kaden Elliss from the Falcons. Kaden Elliss he's like that off-ball linebacker, but he can also give you a lot of pass rush as well. I mean, he's gotten 8.5 sacks over the last 2 years. He had 7 sacks in 2022. He's 30 years old, so a more veteran guy. A team, there's no rumors behind this one. This is just a full-on prediction, just guessing, just looking at teams that need linebackers in the offseason. I'm going to have him go to the Jags. Now, you're probably wondering, the Jags have Devin Lloyd as a free agent that they have to worry about. Well, speaking of Devin Lloyd, I was going to save him for the end, but we'll talk about Devin Lloyd right now. Devin Lloyd is currently a free agent, had by far his best season as an NFL player last year with the Jags. I mean, he got drafted by the Jags, but he was an all-pro second-team Pro Bowler. He didn't have as many tackles as he normally did, but he had 5 interceptions at the linebacker position. But it is going to be very difficult for Jacksonville to pay Devin Lloyd. It feels like there's a chance Devin Lloyd can make about $20 million a year, and I don't think the Jags pay him if he's $20 million a year. I think they could pay him if he's in that $15 million per year range. But if he's in the 20s or just $20 million a year, I don't think the Jags are going to be able to pay him that. I don't think he's going to get franchise tagged, and I think the Jags could just get outpriced by a team with significantly more money available, and a team that has that money, that needs help at linebacker and just help on the entire defense as a whole, because they've been a horrible defense and it's really hurt their team over the last few years. They can contend for a championship if they get a good defense, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. I am going to have Devin Lloyd go to the Cincinnati Bengals. As I mentioned, they are in desperate need of not only help at the linebacker position, but help at every position on defense, pretty much. And Devin Lloyd's the best linebacker on the market. They have the money, and that is why I have the Jags signing Kaden Elliss. He's no Devin Lloyd, but if you need to try and get your Devin Lloyd replacement, and you don't want to spend a ton of money, hence why you're not bringing Devin Lloyd back, I think Kaden Elliss is a pretty solid option. Now going back to we still have 4 more linebackers to go over. First is Quay Walker from the Packers. He could resign, but I think he ends up leaving, just from what I was reviewing. They already have Edgerrin Cooper as their mainstay linebacker, although the Cooper-Walker duo has been pretty solid since Edgerrin Cooper got in the league. But again, kind of just looking at teams that have money, that need help at this position, I'm going to have Quay Walker go to the Washington Commanders. No real rumors behind this one. They need help at linebacker. It's just Bobby Wagner there, but I'm pretty sure Bobby Wagner's a free agent. So I don't even think it matters that Bobby Wagner's there. And even if he was, they still need help at the linebacker position. Quay Walker, I don't know exactly how old Quay Walker is, but this is his rookie deal is over. So yeah, he's 25 right now. He's about to turn 26 in May, but he's 25. He'll be 26 at the start of the season. Washington gets much needed youth on their team. They're a very old team, especially defense. You're bringing guys like Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, just to name a few. Last offseason, they're a very old team. Zach Ertz might have been brought in 2 off seasons ago. They need some youth. They still have a ton of money, and they need to spend it on some young, explosive players. And I think Quay Walker can be that for them. Because the next free agents aren't necessarily on the younger side. Because next up is Demario Davis. Demario Davis could honestly retire. I think there's a chance Demario Davis retires. right? He's 37 years old. He could retire. And if he, but we're gonna make the prediction as if he doesn't. And I know he's been so good on the Saints. Right? He started his career on the Jets. He plays 1 year in Cleveland, and then 27, or then he plays a year on the. He goes back to the Jets, and then he goes to the Saints in 2018 for the next like 8 seasons, and he's just been such a consistent, really good player. He's been a 5-time All-Pro for the Saints. But again, the Saints continue to be in an interesting salary cap position, and I think the Saints are trying to shift to a new era. The Tyler Shuck era. Demario Davis could leave, Alvin Kamara could leave, Cam Jordan could leave. All these staples of the Saints could end up leaving, and they're trying to bring in maybe some younger talent. They already have Pete Werner and Danny Stutzman already in that linebacker room, and if they believe in those two guys, I could very well see Demario Davis leaving if he continues to play another year, which I do think he will, but he still could retire because he is 37. But if he's going to leave, I think he wants to go to, I would assume he wants to go to a contender, right? Get one more shot at a championship before it's all said and done, because he's played on the Jets, he's played on the Browns, he's played on the recent Saints. He was on the Saints when they were good in like 2018, 2019, but he hasn't really had many chances to win a Super Bowl. And if he's going to play one more year on a new team, I think he'll want to go to a contender. And a team that is contending, right? That their head coach knows Demario Davis. It's the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton's over there. He's the reason Demario Davis even ended up on the Saints in the first place. Well, he might not have been the reason, but Sean Payton's Saints brought in Demario Davis, and that completely turned around his career. I mean, he had a good year on the Jets, his return year to the Jets, but he's obviously been incredible since getting to the Saints. I think this makes sense as a one last year for Demario Davis to play under Sean Payton and compete for a championship. Next up is Alex Anzalone from the Lions. When I was doing a little research, it seems like a lot of signs were pointing to Anzalone leaving the Lions. And I'm going to stick on this coach theme, right? I had Quincy Williams reunite with Robert Saleh. I had Demario Davis reunite with Sean Payton. And Alex Anzalone is going to reunite with Aaron Glenn down in New York. They have a ton of money. I know Alex Anzalone, he might not want to go from Detroit, a team competing and contending, to the Jets. But they need help at linebacker, especially with Quincy Williams not there based on these predictions, and I don't think he's going to return regardless. He knows Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn knows him. And he could get a big contract from the Jets because they have the money and they might be desperate. And Aaron Glenn might be desperate to bring his former linebacker to New York. And our final player amongst linebacker current free agents, there's still two more to talk about, is Devin Bush. I've yet to have a single guy on this list return to his former team. But I think that ends with Devin Bush as I have him going back to the Browns. First of all, they're a really good defense, and it feels like why would they change that up and let go of Devin Bush? The Devin Bush Schlesinger linebacker room played great. And you don't know if Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, JOK, is ever going to play football again. And they brought in I assume they brought in Devin Bush as like an assurance for JOK, but he ended up having a career year, played great. The best year he's had probably since his rookie season. And now you can re-sign him and just have him and Schlesinger be your two linebackers. He's only 27. And if I'm Devin Bush, I had a solid year in my rookie year at Pittsburgh. Then the last 3 years in Pittsburgh didn't go great. Went from Pittsburgh to Seattle for a year. Then went from Seattle to Cleveland. He hasn't necessarily lived up to the 10th overall pick that he was taken in 2019. But all of a sudden, he finds a home in Cleveland and he's just going to leave. To me, if I'm Devin Bush, I had a career year with Cleveland. They're a great defense. If they offer me a good enough contract, I'm going to stay. And I don't see why the Browns would let Devin Bush walk, especially with the uncertainty around JOK. Next is Tremaine Edmunds. Now, I do think he might still be on the Bears, but they're either going to trade him or cut him, it seems like. So I put him on this list because it feels inevitable that he's going to switch teams, and he's a good player. So I feel like it was worth talking about. Now, I don't know where Tremaine Edmunds could go. I feel like he's going to obviously want to go to a contender. Right? He's up there in age. How old is Tremaine Edmunds? Tremaine Edmunds he's in his like 8th season. Yeah, he's 27 actually. He's not that old. But I feel like he's going to want to go to a contender. Right? He was on a good team in Chicago. Why not continue to play for a good team? Especially because I don't think he's going to get a big contract. Like I could see guys like Alex Anzalone who might be able to get a really big contract with maybe a not so good team, go to said not so good team for opportunity and for a lot of money. I don't know if Tremaine Edmunds is going to get, because he could get like a 1-year prove it deal or get traded. So I feel like he's more likely to go to a contender and a team that just feels like they get these type of players that are going to get cut by a team, going to get traded by a team. Their value is really low because there's all the reports that the team wants to move on. It's the Eagles. They just get these players. Jahan Dotson. They got Tank Bigsby, Jalen Phillips. I don't know. It just feels like if a player is like so obviously going to get cut or traded and their value is low because of that, the Eagles just pick them up and they play great. And that feels like Tremaine Edmunds. So I think the Eagles. And they lose Nakobe Dean in my predictions. And it also just seems like Nakobe Dean, even if he doesn't go to the Cowboys, is going to leave anyway. Tremaine Edmunds is a solid replacement for Nakobe Dean. And the last guy is Bobby Okereke. I don't know if they've cut Bobby Okereke officially or if they're still going to. I'm recording this video on Sunday. It's coming out on Wednesday, so a lot could change from now till then. But Bobby Okereke still hasn't gotten cut, but they're expected to cut him, which is why he's on the list. Good player, and a team that could use some help at linebacker. Again, I don't know how much money he's going to make, similar to like Tremaine Edmunds, because he's getting cut after having a big contract-ish contract. A team that can use some help at linebacker is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that's where I have Bobby Okereke going. Not too much thought process into this outside of they need help at linebacker, and they're a playoff caliber team. If I'm Bobby Okereke, I just played a solid career with the Giants. Let me try and win on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They need linebacker, especially with Levante. I'm pretty sure Levante David's a free agent. So they could lose out on Levante David. And Okereke is a pretty solid replacement, in my opinion. Now we go to the edge rushers. First on the list is Joseph Ossai, one of 2 Bengals free agent edge rushers, him and Trey Hendrickson. I feel like with the money Cincinnati has and with how bad their defense is, they have to bring one of Ossai or Hendrickson back. They can't lose both. And I just think it's going to be hard for them to keep Hendrickson. Not only is Hendrickson going to get a ton of money, not that the Bengals can't afford Hendrickson, but he is going to get a lot of money. I just don't know if he's going to want to play for them again. It seems like the bridges have been burned between Hendrickson and the Bengals, and I don't think any amount of money is going to keep Hendrickson in Cincinnati, especially if he gets equal amount of money somewhere else. So I think the Bengals will lose Hendrickson. And if they end up losing Hendrickson, I think just to not have too much damage done to their defense, they need to keep Joseph Ossai. So, yeah, I think they keep Ossai in Cincinnati. because they can't afford to lose both him and Hendrickson. Next up is K'Lavon Chaisson. I think this is a pretty easy pick. I know the Patriots could be in the market for some of the top tier pass rushers, and I know Chaisson could have a solid market. But similar to what I talked about with Devin Bush, he's kind of bounced between teams, hasn't lived up to his potential, finds a home in New England, has his easily the best year of his career. So I think he just goes back, and they're a contender. Devin Bush, he's just going to the Browns. They're not necessarily the best team, but the Patriots made the Super Bowl. I had my best year of my career with New England. If they're going to give me the money I want, I'm obviously going to stay. So I do have Chaisson staying in New England. Next up is Joey Bosa. This one's been pretty rumored. It's the Niners. Team up him and his brother, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa. They could use some pass rush. I know they got Mykel Williams. I'm still not too sure about Mykel Williams, but regardless, I think they could use some veteran presence in that pass rush room. I know it's San Fran and they have a lot of injury concerns every year, and Joey Bosa, sure doesn't help with that. But depth is depth, and they get to reunite the brothers together, and I do think the Niners, from what I saw, potentially want to look into bringing Joey Bosa in. Next is Khalil Mack of the Chargers. Similar with the Bengals, how they had Asai and Hendrickson as free agents, the Chargers have Khalil Mack and Odafe Owe as free agents. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to keep both, similar to Cincinnati. And I just think they're going to prioritize Odafe Owe over Khalil Mack. They bring in Odafe Owe in the trade from Baltimore. He has an incredible season. Khalil Mack is really old. And I think if I'm the Chargers, I'd rather have Owe and Tui Tuipulotu instead of Khalil Mack and Tui Tuipulotu. So I do think the Chargers let Khalil Mack walk, and a team that could use some pass rush that seems to sign these type of veteran players, it's the Ravens. He played with one Harbaugh brother. Why not play with the other Harbaugh brother? Oh, wait, never mind. Harbaugh's fired. I think there's some familiarity with the systems. Because Jesse Minter's the head coach, right? I think Minter's the head coach. But he played under Harbaugh in the Chargers, and now he can play with a Harbaugh disciple in Jesse Minter. So I think Khalil Mack, and again, as I said before, the Ravens are that type of team that just sign these type of players. Oh, this is a veteran trying to win a championship who isn't going to cost a lot. Yeah, well, the Ravens will sign him. Next is Bradley Chubb. Again, I think he actually officially got cut by the Dolphins. There was reports that they're going to cut him, and I think they actually have cut him by this point. But regardless, he's going to be a free agent at some point, if he isn't already. And a team that could use some pass rush help, very much. They barely could sack the quarterback last year. It was a struggle for this team to sack the quarterback. And this team may not want to or be able to spend a ton of money on pass rusher, and maybe want to get one of the middle free agents, which Bradley Chubb is the Carolina Panthers. They got Leo Chenal earlier in this video as the cheaper end to the top tier linebacker free agents, and now they get Bradley Chubb as a slightly cheaper end compared to the top tier edge rusher free agents. And again, they have nothing in that pass rush room. They have some intriguing young players, but in terms of solidified veteran talent, they don't have really any of that. And Bradley Chubb is still a really good player. Next up is Odafe Owe. I kind of spoiled this already. I have him going back to the Chargers. I think they either keep him or Khalil Mack. And I had Khalil Mack leaving Baltimore because I think they should prioritize Odafe Owe over Khalil Mack, especially considering how much money the Chargers have. They can easily re-sign Odafe Owe. He's one of the better free agent edge rushers available. You traded for him. I think it just makes perfect sense to bring him back. Now, on the same idea of trading for a guy who's a free agent, the Eagles with Jaelan Phillips. They trade for him at the deadline. He has a very good second half of the season with the Eagles. I think From what I've seen, the number one priority is to re-sign Goddard and then re-sign Phillips. If I'm Jalen Phillips, I got traded mid-season to a really good team in the Eagles. If they offer me the money I want, I'm obviously going to stay. And I think they bring back Jalen Phillips. Why would you trade for Jalen Phillips if you're just going to let him walk? So I think the Eagles get Jalen Phillips. They re-sign Dallas Goedert, as I mentioned earlier, and they also pick up Tremaine Edmunds. Not a bad offseason for the Eagles. Next up is Trey Hendrickson, the biggest name on the market by far. Again, I don't think he goes back to the Bengals because I just don't think he'll want to re-sign with the Bengals. There's been so much dispute between the two, between Cincinnati and Hendrickson. It just doesn't feel like he's going to go back. And the team that has a ton of money, that kind of underperformed last year due to injuries and whatever, that desperately needs help on the pass rush position, that there was a report that they are going to meet with Hendrickson or they want to see Hendrickson or bring him in for a visit or something like that. They're going to look into signing Hendrickson. It's the Washington Commanders. They have tons of money. Jaden Daniels is healthy, hopefully for the whole year 3 of his career. They have nothing really on that pass rush room. I think they have Dante Fowler, I think. They need some talent there. And Trey Hendrickson is surely he's talent. That's for sure. He's really good. One of the better edge rushers in the game. The Washington's got the money. And I just don't see him returning to Cincy. And he can compete on the Commanders. And the last guy on the list is Maxx Crosby. We don't know for certain if he's going to get traded. I could very well see him staying on the Raiders. And I don't think he's the type to want to leave. I think he likes it in Las Vegas. He just wants to win. And you're not going to do that necessarily anytime soon playing for the Raiders. But just for fun, I'm going to have Maxx Crosby get traded. I'm going to predict a trade for Maxx Crosby. Not an actual trade, just where he gets traded to. And I think the team that is most heavily rumored, there's been the mock draft with this team, or mock trade with this team, trading one of their receivers for Maxx Crosby. He's really close to the quarterback. There's potentially been reports of him wanting to go there if he gets traded. It's the Chicago Bears. They made a massive jump from last season to this season. They could trade DJ Moore. That seems like that's what would likely happen if they were to trade for Maxx Crosby. He really him and Caleb Williams seem to be really close. It's the common rumor is Maxx Crosby to the Bears. So if he does get traded, I am also going to predict that Maxx Crosby would get traded to Chicago. And that will conclude our free agent predictions / some trade predictions for the top edge rusher and linebacker, off-ball linebacker free agents. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like, comment down below where you think some of these guys will go. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.